On this episode of the Palm Beach Current, I welcome Kelly Smallridge, President and CEO of the Business Development Board of the Palm Beaches, where we discuss Wall Street South, technology and innovation, and where we are heading here in the Palm Beach area. Welcome to another edition of the Palm Beach Current. I am ecstatic, I guess that'll be the word I use today, to be joined by Kelly Smallridge, the President and CEO of the Business Development Board of the Palm Beaches. That is quite a mouthful of a title there, Kelly. I hoped I got it right, but welcome to the show.
You got it perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So for listeners, for viewers that are looking at this today who might not know you, let's talk a little bit about what the Business Development Board does and how does the work affect everyday residents here in Palm Beach County?
Sure. So the Business Development Board was really formed 45 years ago. And maybe you remember the time when our economy was built on tourism, real estate, restaurants, small mom and pops, and agriculture, as well as construction. And the business leaders got together and said, we really want one organization to serve on the front line so that our children, when they graduate here in Palm Beach County, and our grandchildren, they no longer have to go to New York, Boston, or Chicago to find a job. We want good jobs in our backyard. We also don't want a cyclical economy. We want one that's far more stable, so that our residents have year-round employment here. And away the business community went in forming this organization. With that mission, every day, we really grow the companies that are in our backyard, whether it's aviation, fintech, innovation-based companies, manufacturing, life science, distribution. We are out there constantly making sure that existing companies are happy here. They're getting the services that they need. And at the same time we're doing that, we're also going outside of the state of Florida and working with companies that have an interest in locating here. So it's a combination of attraction, retention, and expansion. And what it means for our residents, again, is you have a far more solid economy, you have jobs for future generations, and you have really great capital investment being infused in this economy.
Now, Kelly, it seems you've spent a majority of your career helping to shape Palm Beach County's economy. What originally attracted you to the economic development side of this?
Well, that's a story in itself, but I was born and raised in this area. I grew up in the village of Palm Springs, went to public school K through 12 here in the Palm Beaches. And after I graduated from the University of Florida and I was looking for a job in the Palm Beaches, I really realized that there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. There was Florida Power and Light, IBM, and Pratt Whitney as the major anchors in our community. And I really thought that I'd have to go and get a job, outside of the state, and didn't want to leave my family that was here. And ironically, there was a job before this organization, and it had to deal with recruiting businesses to be a part in terms of investing in economic development. So I thought, well, let me give it a try, not really knowing what it was, but knowing that I really loved this place that I've called home for my entire life. When I really got the crux of what the organization did as a mission, I fell in love with it because I thought this is my way of being able to grow an economy that only had three major sectors in it. And I started back in 1988, so 38 years ago, in a sales position, worked my way up, holding every position within this organization. And in 2004, I became the CEO. So it's a great fit in that I was born and raised here. I know this community like the back of my hand. And since my job every day is to sell the assets of this community, I'm not brought in from the outside. I certainly know what the assets of this community are.
Listen, you have my attention. I mean, I'm impressed. You've had every position there. Also, how was 1988 38 years ago? I still can't wrap my head around that.
I can't either. I can't even, I mean, I can't even believe I have a kid in his 30s. So time flies. People think that that's a very long time. But when you talk about economic development, it really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there are initiatives that we've led here that seriously have taken 20 years to bring to the finish line.
Well, that's a good segue, right? So in your time as, I guess you've had so many roles there, but dating back to 2004, when you said you took this position, what do you feel is your biggest accomplishment in that time? Something that you worked really hard on to see through and brought it to fruition here in the area?
So I think the greatest accomplishment is realizing that in order to have excellent economic development, where there are jobs for all residents of this county, you really have to build a solid economic base, foundation, and infrastructure to court these types of companies that come in and ask for things like available sites. Where will they get their workforce? Where will their children go to school? How do they get access to the port, the airport? What are the taxes? All of these things and utilities, all of these things that are key factors. What the Business Development Board worked so hard on in the very beginning is building up that economic development house, really making sure that the house was in order before we went out there to sell. And what happened after 10 years of building that base and getting trickles of industry coming in, once we build the base, it really primed this county for solid economic development to go out there and recruit the industries that we mentioned. So when you look at Wall Street South, or when you look at 1,500 aviation aerospace companies, or two of the world's largest life science companies coming to this area, they didn't just come here. They came here because a solid base was built for them to launch, scale, and grow their operations. And I think that building that base and consensus around jobs for all residents, getting chambers of commerce, 39 mayors and county commissioners rowing in the same direction on one topic has been a huge accomplishment and made Palm Beach County shine.
Yeah, I would say so. We recently had a gentleman named Gary Walker on the show, and Gary was instrumental in bringing the English national team here to train for the World Cup. And I thought the story was fascinating. I also think I would find interesting or fascinating maybe a story you could share about a company that you helped recruit here to come this way. Is there a good example of that you can share with the audience?
Sure, happy to. So I'll give an example of a company called New Day USA. This is a fintech company, and the company is based out of Maryland with about 600 employees, and they provide, in addition to being a fintech company, the core of their business is providing mortgages to veterans. And we have a huge veteran community here in South Florida and the state of Florida in general. About a few days into 2020, shortly after COVID, the CEO walked into my office to have a conversation about schools in the area because he bought a home here. And he came in and he said, I would like to move New Day USA or expand to the state of Florida. I just spent half a day in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to move my company to the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I said, I think we've got a great story here in Palm Beach. Can I have the opportunity to show you what we have here in the Palm Beaches? And quickly, I was able to put together a property tour where we loaded up the CEO in a car, took him out on the road to show them what is available here. And fast forward to today, New Day USA did expand into 360 Rosemary, which is in the heart of West Palm Beach, in a beautiful Class A office building developed by Related Ross. If you drive through City Place in the morning, say 8 or 9 a.m., all of those young people that brought our average age from 65 down to, it looks like 20 to 26-year-olds every morning
Yeah,
in
I
beautiful
think you have to
suits.
be under 30 to be in the Nora district. I
Exactly.
figured that out the other night.
Yes, but this is a company that hires right out of college with a very rigorous training program, and they are the largest employer in that building. And I just love the way that they wrap their arms around hiring people coming out of college, providing them with good paying jobs, spending time training them. But more importantly, what I'm most proud of is how New Day USA, and they are an example of many of the companies that we've helped in this community, they give back to the nonprofit sector. So whether it's turning around and after taking space, giving back to veterans, giving to the YMCA, giving back to for Humanity, frequenting the local flower shop, the dry cleaners, the sandwich shop, there is this ripple impact for the work that we do. And that is a classic example of a company that we brought in from the outside. And then if you look at Pratt Whitney, that's an example of a company that's been here since the 1960s. And we have worked with them on 3 or 4 different occasions, retaining and expanding their local operations to make sure that when they wanted to grow and they thought they were going to go outside of Palm Beach County, we ensured that we had the right infrastructure to land those jobs and capital investment here.
Right. No, fascinating story. And I find it really interesting how you have the ability to help shape where we go as a community in terms of who we attract, right? Because There are always people excited about this type of thing. And then you have the negative people that sit on the other side of the fence and say, oh, they're going to bring more traffic. They're going to take jobs from us. I'm not educated enough to get this job, or I don't have the skill to do this job, or I want the old Florida back, or, don't New York my Florida. You see all these things around here
Of
all the time.
course.
But I think we have to continue to grow, right? And I think in terms of, you mentioned something interesting at the beginning of the episode where we were predicated before on tourism, real estate, agriculture. What's your vision for the industries that are going to reshape our community? What do you and your team envision as good fits for the Palm Beach community?
I think in order for this community to continue, solid momentum and great capital investment, and it's not all about traffic and building, it's about jobs, 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 and everybody needs one in Palm Beach County. And so as I look at the broader vision, especially with our universities that are already here and on the heels of the Vanderbilt announcement and a lot of the high-tech hospitals that are coming here, our vision is to create a culture here in Palm Beach County where entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation can thrive, grow, expand, and relocate to this area. And we mention that vision because it's not segued into one industry over another. If you look at how companies are staying competitive today, it's because they're latching on to the latest and greatest technology and innovation. And that technology and innovation vision for this county, meaning that we wrap our arms around our universities who are going after quantum, AI, cybersecurity to train our workforce, which then allows us to fuel all of the six sectors that we're after, that's going to keep Palm Beach County's economy fresh, vibrant, and resilient. We will one day go through another recession. And rather than being built on three traditional industries, we're going to have 6 to 8 that are solid and world-class talent here and world-class education and world-class healthcare. And that's going to help us weather any storm that we have in the national economy. And I think that we are headed in the right direction and certainly want to continue to foster that tech and entrepreneurial spirit.
How do you envision taking the new side of what's being developed and marrying it back to what the foundation was built on here to kind of bring it all together?
So I'll use one micro sector. One would be quantum. So we envisioned that in the tech and innovation umbrella, one subsector of that would be quantum. And we partnered with a group called Quantum Beach and Quantum Coast Capital to take the vision to the next level. In other words, we wanted to have an incubator that fostered quantum companies. We wanted to have capital, and we wanted to tell the world that we were attracting quantum companies and growing quantum companies in our backyard. So we set up a Quantum Coast, Quantum Beach conference for October of 2025 and now 2026. We went to Florida Atlantic University and presented a company called D-Wave, which was based out of California. We moved D-Wave's corporate headquarters. They are the world's largest quantum computing company, commercial quantum computing company. We moved them from California to Boca Raton to put a feather in our cap and give us momentum to go into this area. So you couple the conference with the capital, with the announcement of D-Wave. Now you marry them with Florida Atlantic University and the workforce and students that President Hasner provides. He goes and purchases a quantum computer. Then we go over to Ava Parker, president of Palm Beach State College. She creates a Palm Beach State College Quantum Innovation Center at her West Palm Beach campus. Then we go and apply for some state and federal grants. And now you start to see an ecosystem also tied to Vanderbilt and Kaiser and Nova Southeastern. And Palm Beach Atlantic University and their new expansion here. Now you start to see how the Business Development Board plays a role in building all of these blocks to link to a particular sector so that we are competitive and we don't get lost in terms of new technologies. As an economic developer, we have to be forward thinking so that what is here one day may be replaced. But if we're thinking forward as to the next win and we're bringing that here, our residents will have a continuum of jobs, and we've got the right foundation to train our residents up the ladder of advancing their skills so that there will always be a job right here at home.
No, that is truly impressive. And it's a really smart way to look at the ecosystem. I mean, we have so many good foundational pieces here, and now we get to sprinkle in all these technologically advanced companies that are coming from all over the country and seeing what we have here. That's just a great answer, Kelly. And I think all around, we're fortunate to have that. I want to transition a bit to the Wall Street South movement. You hear it a lot around town. Palm Beach becoming Wall Street South, and it's becoming closely associated with Palm Beach County as a whole. Could we talk a little bit about that movement and the role that your organization is playing in that?
Yes. So back in 2011, again, at a time when many cities did not have the vibrancy that they have now, residents were coming to us asking for good quality jobs. Many small companies these small companies come to us looking for opportunities, new opportunities. So at that time, when we looked at the inquiries that we were receiving in general, in terms of attraction of existing companies and the relocation of out of state companies, there was one common thread. Many of them were led by a CEO that had a second home here in Palm Beach County. So what we did was reverse engineer our economic development strategy. And rather than putting us on a plane every month to go to these northeastern states that had high taxes and cold call and pitch for them to move here, we decided to take a look at who was already here in this county that had no business presence. And we identified 173 executives that had a home here in the Palm Beaches, but their company had not moved yet. And that was in 2011 when we first started what we called Wall Street South. And the reason we called it Wall Street South is out of the 173, 90% of them, which is almost all of them, were connected to either a hedge fund, a wealth manager, a private equity firm, or some type of firm in the financial services industry. And one by one, we started to see them come in. By the time COVID hit, that number started to accelerate because all of a sudden, technology and the acceptance of technology allowed us to do business anywhere. Zoom, Teams call, virtual calls were all acceptable, whereby before, if you weren't on Wall Street, then you weren't accepted. You had to be right next door to each other. And when the big companies like Goldman, Citadel, BlackRock, and others started moving to this area, the big names, Point 72 and WorldQuant, it validated that the Palm Beaches was a great location. And over time, more financial service firms started to make the trip to this area. I would also add that the real benefit has not only been in good quality jobs for our residents, the real benefit is that they are frequenting the sandwich shop. They are going to the dry cleaners. They're giving to our local nonprofits. They're giving to the arts and culture. So the ripple effect that we are seeing in our nonprofit community and jobs for our local residents is at an all-time high. What I would like everyone to understand is that these companies prefer to hire locally. And upon them entering into the local market as part of their onboarding, we introduce them to our local universities and career source so that residents have the first opportunity to get those jobs. And that really is at the request of these employers because they don't want to relocate people from the outside. So residents have the first shot at getting these jobs. And typically they pay, higher than the county's average salary, which is $78,000. So great initiative. It is taking nice shape. It will continue forward, and it's brought so many other benefits to Palm Beach County as a whole.
What do you think in terms of making it a permanent economic center rather than a temporary migration trend? What's the key there to make sure that this stays as a status quo here in the area?
I would say workforce and housing, two different things, talent and housing, and our ability to sustain both. Number one, if you have a company like ServiceNow coming in with 856 new jobs, our ability to fuel that pipeline and show them that we've got residents that can fill those jobs is going to be critical to sustaining them and everyone else that has moved to this area. Second, we have to do a better job in creating more affordable workforce housing units. I would say workforce housing units to clarify. And, employees want to live in close proximity, but employers need to be able to tell their prospective employees that we do have workforce housing. I think one of the misnomers that most people have when looking at the Palm Beaches is they think that if you can't live on the island of Palm Beach, or if you can't live in the city of West Palm Beach, that there's no workforce housing for them. And that is not an accurate statement. There is great workforce housing in places like Lake Worth Beach, Green Acres, Lantana, Palm Springs, Riviera Beach. And these infill cities between Boca Raton, West Palm Beach, and Palm Beach Gardens offer excellent amenities, great downtowns, and great living arrangements for especially young graduates out of college. So that we have to do a better job making them mindful of where these units exist, and we've put together some resources for them. But in order to sustain this momentum, again, to recap, workforce housing and talent are going to be the two critical factors.
Okay, excellent. I'd like to shift a bit to technology and innovation. You talked a little bit about the quantum computers and the big push for high tech jobs here. What ingredients do you feel are still missing from that technology ecosystem here in the area?
I don't think that Florida as a whole and, diving down into South Florida has traditionally had an image of being a tech rich culture. So coming right out of the gate, the biggest challenge that we have to building this tech and innovation culture is proving that we do have the ability to grow tech and innovation. We're doing it. We've done it. We are the birthplace of the IBM PC. The IBM as a company was located in Boca Raton back in the 1960s. And there are 1,500 tech and innovation companies already in this region. So again, from a marketing perspective, our pitch has to be more solid because California companies automatically will tell us, well, we really aren't sure about South Florida as a tech environment. Second, we have to enhance, enrich, and work closer with our universities that are in our region on making sure that the skill sets are there. The programs are there for our students to fill these needs. So tech and workforce are going to be the most critical pieces. And then the third piece that I would add is we've got to create more entrepreneurial tech hub ecosystems like your 1909, what Related Ross is doing in Miami and in West Palm, tech incubators coupled with venture capital funds to fuel these young innovative companies as they spin out of an incubator, help them scale, grow, and be funded.
Do you
So
find your
it's a big list.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we could do one whole show on that. Do you find yourself in your office soliciting more businesses to come here or fielding more calls about development here as a whole?
I would say that it is a combination of both. We have a healthy enough pipeline of companies that are calling in here because there are 39 cities, there are several chambers of commerce, and we serve as the only partner to the state of Florida and Palm Beach County and the only countywide economic development organization. So we do get a lot of inquiries simply because of the nature of how we are structured. And then we also do a fair amount of just creating visibility in different markets where the taxes are high. We do some outreach to those areas to say we are open for business should your company look to expand to South Florida. We have an environment that's rich in tech, life sciences, aviation, financial services. So it is a mix because remember, I come from a time when the phone didn't ring at all. And I
Right.
know how quickly that economies can turn back to that. I also come from a time when unemployment was somewhere around 10%, and today it's about 3.7. So economies can change, and we're just trying to build that stable base again for the resiliency and sustainability of the Palm Beaches.
This is a fun question to me, but if you were to look 10 years from now, what does your wish list look like? How has this all turned out? What does successful innovation in an economy look like at that point to you?
So, as a native of this area and the CEO of the Economic Development Board, my longer term vision would be that this is a world class place to not only work, but to live. And that residents will step back one day and say that the longer term vision for this county clearly had character and quality of life in mind, and that the economy has grown and with great respect to the character and the charm and the quality of what we all enjoy, and that the economic development programs that we lead do so with the mindset that what attracted everybody here to the Palm Beaches is that we live in absolutely the most beautiful place. This organization is about creating jobs. We market and sell what cities give us. And so as cities are looking at maintaining that character and charm, we want to be able to coach them, guide them on the great quality industries that they can bring into this area. But I don't ever want the quality of life to go away for this area, because I think it sets us apart from all of the other big areas in our country, and nor do I ever aspire to be one of those big areas.
Very well said. I mean, the charm that this area encapsulates is unlike anywhere else, and I totally hear you in wanting to keep that together. We don't want to lose that. Kelly, at this point in the show, I like to ask questions that are common to each of my shows. One of which is your favorite restaurant in the area. Where do you like to go to eat? Where's that place that you're going to go on a Friday night for dinner?
So I love Henry's in Palm Beach, which is, of course, run by the Breakers. But I also, on a Friday night, I live in Wellington. I love, your little hole in the wall, like a mole Mexican restaurant where you just pull up in a pair of jeans. So it depends on what area. Remember, I can go to Jupiter and to Boca Raton and Belle Glade in one single day. So it depends where I am at the end of my Friday night. But I certainly think that, especially having attended the Michelin event last night with Discover the Palm Beaches, there used to be no place to get good food, and now we are the mecca for the finest restaurants in this country.
Oh, that must have been amazing. How was that event?
It was fantastic to see this county rise to that level. But again, economic development and tourism and restaurants all go hand in hand. And it was nice to see that level of quality restaurants entering into the market.
Right. I'm sure you have so many different places you can mention with this next question, but in terms of small businesses or service providers, who don't you think gets enough recognition in the county? Is there a particular company or person that you want to give a shout out to?
Small businesses, gosh, whew, I think that your small sandwich shops, your small florist, your janitorial services, your dry cleaners, your hospitality, your restaurant workers. I know that's a long answer, but we've got to remember that what leads to the quality of life are the very people that run the best quality of life assets in this county. So all those small mom and pops, from the Uber drivers to, like I said, the small sandwich shop, those who work at the car repair, anyone who gives us the service so quickly in this area in first class, those are the people that really deserve a lot of credit for making this a best in class place to live.
I think it's so true, right? I mean, everybody wants to talk about the big firms that are coming and the new developments and, the legacy companies that have been around. But you get out of the airport here, and what's the first thing people do? They get in an Uber, right? That Uber
Right.
driver sets the tone for your whole trip here or your business meeting or whatever it's going to be. And then what do? You go to a meeting, you get
That's
sandwiches
right.
delivered. Who are the sandwiches from? Who did you get the flowers from that are on the centerpiece of the table? All of these things, where are you going to get your haircut, right? It's the lifeblood of every community to see all these things come together for the whole ecosystem to work. So I appreciate you bringing
Absolutely.
those people up. And, I don't think they get enough recognition. Kelly, if people want to learn more about the mission of what you do over there, what's the best way for them to follow the whole group, and how to get in touch with you if they wanted to?
So our website is bdb.org. That's business development board.org. And you will find, regardless of whether you have one employee or 1,000 employees, a wide array of resources to grow your business, to understand the industries that are here, and to understand the mission of our economic development platform. Our phone number is 561-835-1008, and we are located in the heart of downtown West Palm Beach, but we cover, as I mentioned earlier, all 39 cities. So we are countywide in scope. Everybody has access to our resources, and we want companies to call us if they need any assistance.
Well, Kelly, I think you're a great resource. The job that you guys do is, I mean, look at the work that you've done here in all the years that you've been here. It's something to be proud of. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
and
you.
please don't be a stranger to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on the Palm Beach Current, bringing you the people, places, and stories shaping our community. If you enjoyed the show, follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves Palm Beach County. Until next time, stay connected, stay curious, and stay current.